Yo, what is going on, guys? My name is Kyle and welcome back to another Dead by Daylight video. This video is going to be a little different today because a lot of people have been asking for it. Basically, you want to know how I make my game look so beautiful. So there are three main methods to do this. One is with NVIDIA game filters, two is with a program called ReShade, and three is just with your monitor settings. I'm going to be showing all three different types, but keep in mind that this all depends on your setup and your monitor and your game and whatever you like. So I'm going to give you my values that I use and you'll have to tweak it from there. All right, so we're going to start off with the NVIDIA filters. This only works if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, obviously. So you're going to press Alt F3 and that brings up the game filters option. I'm gonna switch to another one without any game filters already on so that I can show you. This is what the game looks like before the filters. This is after. Doesn't that just look so much better? So I don't know if Alt F3 is actually the default to open this up, but if you know how to get to your GeForce overlay, which is Shift F1 for me, it might be something different for you. If you're able to pull this up, it should be right here and you can just click on that to open this up as well. All right, so the first thing you want to do is add color. Personally, I find this game to be very dull and not colorful at all, and I really like the color to pop. So obviously, this whole pink tint is not what we want. So you basically just want to turn the tint intensity down, and then that completely removes it. And then what I like to do is I turn up vibrance all the way. It looks ugly right now, I know, but once we mess with the brightness and the contrast, it'll get better. And then temperature, some people like to turn it up so that you can see the red stain better, or some people like to turn it down so that it's not as orange. But personally, I just keep mine at 0 because once you see the brightness and contrast that will add, it'll completely make up for this. All right, so now you're gonna go plus and then brightness and contrast. And now this is where it's going to depend on your liking completely. I basically use all of the default values right here, except I turn my gamma up to 87%. So now it looks like this, and there you go. That's pretty much all that I use, except I also use a different type of setting to further enhance it. Okay, so what I also do is I go into my NVIDIA control panel. Again, this is only if you have NVIDIA. You can either right click the desktop and then click NVIDIA control panel, or you could just go into the search bar and type that in right there and pull it up. Then you're going to want to go to adjust desktop color settings, and then you could basically just copy all my settings here. I think the only thing that I really changed from default was the digital vibrance. I just turned that up to 72%. A lot of people don't want to do that. For example, if you work on Photoshop and stuff, you won't get the true colors. It'll be more saturated than normal. So just keep that in mind. Also, just to note, you can change your resolution right here if you have an NVIDIA graphics card. So if you want a tutorial on how to make your game look like this, with this beautiful resolution, let me know in the comments below and I will do that. All right, so that's about it for this. So those are the settings that I use to make my game look like this. One extra thing you can do as well, if you like it, you can go down to sharpen and then turn up the sharpness a bit. I personally don't like it looking sharp at all, but some people like to just up the sharpness just a tad, just to give those edges some nice definition. So this is what it looks like with sharpness, and this is what it looks like without. It looks way blurrier without, but that's also just because it's so different. So that's completely up to you. I usually run it with no sharpness, but I might turn it down just a little bit, just so that it pops out a little bit more. Okay, before I move on to ReShade, this is important for everybody. A lot of people just go into their settings and turn the quality down to low. That obviously makes your game look terrible, but people don't like seeing the shadows in the game. I don't know why DBD doesn't have separate settings for each thing, but they do in the game files. So you are able to edit the graphics in the game files. Just a warning, I don't know if they like you going into their game files and changing values, but you're not doing anything that can give you a significant advantage. You're literally just making the game look more appealing. So you're going to want to press Windows key R, and that's going to bring up this run dialog. And then you're going to type in %appdata% or app data, however you pronounce it, and then click OK. I'm going to blur out most of the things that are on here, except for the things that you need. Just be warned of that. So you're going to want to go back to app data. So click here, and then you're going to go into local, scroll down until you see Dead by Daylight, click on that, then click on saved, config, Windows No Editor, and then scroll down until you see game user settings and double click on that. And there you go. Now you have all of the settings that you can do to make your game look amazing. If you want to copy mine, go ahead, but just note that I am on a higher end computer, so some of you may not actually be able to run these graphic settings. Starting off with the resolution quality, this is basically how many pixels are on your screen. The default is 100, so if you're on a 1080p monitor, you'll have 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels. I like to crank it up to 135 just to make my game look extra crisp. However, this will work only on higher end PCs because otherwise you'll get some frame drops. View distance, I turn it up to max, which is 4. The ultra settings on the actual game have a maximum value of 3, but you can actually go to 4 as well. View distance just lets you see further. This is pretty much in every game and it's pretty straightforward, but it's basically how far you can see. And on a game where information is key, you'll want to see as far as possible. It probably doesn't even matter in the long run because you can't really see that far to begin with just because of trees or obstacles or whatever, but I still like to crank that up to 4. Okay, anti-aliasing. So this is completely up to preference. I'll show a picture on screen showing you what it does, but it basically smooths out the edges to make it look better. It's like the opposite of the sharpening that we did earlier. I personally like to have anti-aliasing on, but a lot of people that I know actually think having it on makes the game look blurry. So you'll just have to mess around with it and see what you like and what you don't like. Shadow quality, I have that at 0 because we don't want shadows. I also have shading at 0 right here because we don't want shadows. I don't like shadows in my game. It makes everything look dark and I don't like darkness. I like lightness. So I would recommend turning both of those to 0. Post-processing quality, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know the full details of what this is, so I just keep it at 2, which is kind of in the middle. I'm pretty sure it just makes your game look better and it doesn't cost that much. But if you really want to look into it, I'm sure you can research it on Google. Texture and effects quality. I crank those up to max, which is 4. This is practically just how good the game looks and how high quality your textures and effects are. So I wanted that maximum. This is higher than ultra, so if your computer can't run ultra settings, then I probably wouldn't recommend doing this. I'd probably recommend doing either 2 or 0 if you have a lower end computer. But these two are definitely the most important ones in regards to the high quality of your game. Then foliage is just the quality of the trees and the grass. I just keep that at 0 because I really don't care about how the grass looks. But if you want to turn it up, go ahead. Shading quality, we already did that. And then animation quality, I'm not actually sure what this does, so I just keep it at 2. I'm assuming it just makes the animations look better, but I don't know how they would really do that. I don't really know about this one. I would either keep it at default or turn it up to 2, or you could just mess with it and see what it's like. All right, now that you have that done, do File, Save, and then after that, right click on it, go into Properties, and check Read Only, Apply, and then OK. This basically tells the game that every time you open it, it's going to keep the settings and not rewrite them back to normal. So this just ensures that this stays the same, because otherwise, every time you restart the game, it'll go back to your default settings. However, if you have Read Only checked, and then you go into this and change a value, so let's say foliage to 1. If you try to save it, it won't actually work. So then you're going to have to go into here, uncheck Read Only, Apply, OK, go back into this, and then change whatever values you want to change, and then exit out of it again. Make sure you save it before you exit out of it. Go back into Properties, re-click Read Only, and then OK. So you can only change this if you have Read Only unchecked, otherwise it won't work. And before you do this, make sure you close your game before you change any of the graphics, and then after you save the file, then reopen your game, and then you should be good to go. Also, keep in mind that if you go into the settings and then you change the quality at all, it'll revert your graphics back to these presets. So just keep it how it is. I know it says ultra, but it's not actually fully ultra settings. It's just the ones that you changed. And while we're at it, may as well go over the UI scales that I use. I do 100% for the menu UI scale. That's basically that, as you can see on the side of my screen. I like to have big buttons on the menu. It's just what I've been using for the entirety of my playtime on this game, so that's what I'm using. And then I also like to turn down the in-game HUD scale all the way down to 75, because personally, I find the new HUD to be very large, so I like it to be a little smaller and a little more minimalistic. And then they actually added the skill check scale, which is really nice. It's completely separate from the in-game HUD scale, so you can now change the size of your skill checks. I find 100 to be a little too big, so I just turn it down to like 85-ish. You could just mess with all these and see what you like. And that's about it for all of those settings. Let's get into the ReShade settings. Okay, at this point, go to the ReShade link in the description, and then it'll take you to this page. You're gonna click download, or you can just manually scroll down until you see this green button right here. Click on that, and then when the download window comes up, just save it wherever you want and then run it. Once you run it, you'll see a prompt that says click here to select a game. Click on that, then scroll down until you see the 2 Dead by Daylight logos. Now this is important for it to work. Do not choose Easy Anti-Cheat Launcher. That is not the correct one. You have to choose this Dead by Daylight Windows 64 shipping application. So select that and then click use selected application. And then it asks you which rendering API does it use. It uses this second one that's already selected. So just click on that again. Personally, I like to have all effects available to me just in case I want to change anything in the future. So I'm going to select all of these. I would just recommend doing the same as well, so you can mess with them to your liking. Now that all of them are selected, click OK, and it'll start downloading them. And then if you ever get a prompt telling you which effects to install, just choose all of them. They should already automatically be chosen, but just keep it the same and then press OK. Okay, so once you're done, it'll say ReShade setup was successful, and then you can close out of that and open your game. All right, now that you're in the game, it'll have this little ReShade thing at the top where it says press home to start the tutorial. So press home on your keyboard. I'm gonna skip the tutorial. If you wanna go through it, go ahead and press continue, but I'm just gonna skip it personally. And now, this is where it gets confusing if you wanna do it manually, because there are so many effects, like so many that you can use. But I'm gonna make this way easier for you. If you go down to the description below, I'll have a My Preset link. Click on that, download that. So pause the video right now, and then once you have that downloaded, come back. Okay, once you have that downloaded, come to your Steam library, right click on Dead by Daylight, click on Properties, then go into Local Files and click Browse. This will then pop up with your Dead by Daylight folder. You're gonna click on this other Dead by Daylight folder, then Binaries, Windows 64, and then from here, you're gonna take that file that you just downloaded called AliceBravoPreset.ini, and then you're gonna drag it into here. Obviously, I already have it right here, so I can't do that. But once you guys do that, go back into your game and then click reload. And then at the top right here where it says ReShade Preset, click on that box, and then you should see AliceBravoPreset.ini right here. Click on that, click on select, and then it should come up with all of my settings. And if you like the look of mine, then just keep it at that. Make sure you go down here and click on performance mode. That basically prevents any frame drops or lag from happening. And then click home to exit out of it, and then you're good to go. So just remember that home is the default key to go in and out of this menu. You can also go to the settings tab up here and then change the overlay key to something else. I know some people that like to do like shift F2 or like something else, but I'm just going to keep it at home. And then if you want to tweak any settings, make sure you're not in performance mode, and then you can apply any effects here. There are a ton. Some of them are completely useless, like chromatic aberration. That just basically makes a chromatic aberration, and it's very it's very cool looking, I must say, but it's definitely not something you want to do in this game. So I'm gonna uncheck that really quick. But what you can also do if you want to just change the effects that I already have, you can drag this up, and then you have all of the values right here that you can mess with. I'm just gonna click these arrows to make this way easier to see. So these are all the effects that I use. You can open one up at a time and then change their values. So when you drag this, you can see what it does, and then you could just put it to your liking. I like it around 2.8 personally. And yeah, you could just do that for all of these settings to see what you like. The main things that you'd probably want to change are colorfulness. Obviously, this makes it more colorful or less colorful. Oh my God, that hurts my eyes. I personally like the game to look more colorful, but I know a lot of people don't. So make sure you just turn that down if you don't like the color. Then there's the lift gamma gain. This basically turns the brightness up. So if you go to the RGB gamma and click these arrows, it moves the brightness up or down. I personally like the game a little brighter, so that's why I have it above 1. The next effect that you may want to change is the sharpen. A lot of people like their game to look sharper. I personally don't like the look of this. I find it to be really weird, so I keep that down. I have a little bit of sharpness because it looks kind of blurry without it. So I like to add a little bit of definition like I was talking about earlier in the video. 666, perfect number. And those are pretty much all of the important ones that you need to know. Again, you can go into any of these, change any values that you want. You can just mess with all the effects, make it look as good as you want it to look. And then once you're done, just remember to click performance mode, and then just make sure to close out of it by pressing home. And there you have it. I personally find ReShade to look a little better than the NVIDIA game filters because there's more things that you can tweak and adjust. It is a little more complex and a little harder to use, whereas the NVIDIA game filters are a little more user-friendly. I just like being able to change very, very specific things in my graphical settings. And that is gonna wrap it up for today's video. Before you click off, make sure you go down in the comment section and let me know whether you're using ReShade or NVIDIA graphics. Also, let me know if you want me to do a video on how to get this resolution running at 144 frames per second. If this video helped your game look better, be sure to go drop a like and subscribe if you're new. We're getting so close to 50,000 subscribers, and I could not appreciate it enough. We're on the grind with a new video every Friday and a stream every Tuesday and Saturday, so be sure you stick around for that. And I think that's all I have to say, so I will see you all in the next one. Peace.